Quote time.
Quote time. You want to start?
I'll start with one. It's short.
Keep the tradition.
Yeah, it was an interview with Jim Black, the drummer, and one of the questions is, what are your top 3 tools of your trade?
Drumsticks.
Right? You're going to think that, right?
Cymbals and drums.
Yeah, yeah. But he goes, my mental health, my physical health, and my current laptop.
Oh.
I was like, oh.
Yeah, I'd like to smack my laptop with drumsticks, too, if I had the chance.
Yeah. But I think, I mean, the fact that the first 2 is mental health, physical health, obviously, physical health should be the most important thing just in life in general.
Well, if you're going to use your body.
But especially if you're using your body with something like drums, cool. And then mental health as an artist is really, really important.
Yeah.
To maintain. It gets looked over. I mean, I guess, again, that could be applied to just everything.
Yeah.
But, yeah. And then current laptop, I guess, because
it's useful.
Technology now, you can record stuff, you write your music on there, you save your sheet music or recordings on there, like all this.
Yeah. Yeah, it's convenient.
So I thought that was interesting.
Yeah.
This one just really funny. Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart.
Mm-hmm. Mozart.
He said,
Mozart.
if I were obliged to marry all of those whom I have jested, I should have at least 200 wives. I was like, I didn't know he was a savage like that.
Yeah, he was a pretty sarcastic guy.
Yeah, I mean, I know he was a goofball, but I didn't know he was like...
He's pretty critical of people, I guess. And
well, I took that like he was like pimping.
No, jested. Like if I were to marry everybody that I made fun of or criticized. Because he used to talk shit about a lot of people.
Oh, I thought he was talking about like jested, like...
No, jest means to joke or to criticize.
Yeah, like goofing around.
Oh, no, not in this case.
Oh.
Yeah, if you read the rest of the context of that quote, it was from a travel letter he had written.
I was like, damn, you're pimp? That's some gnar shit to say, man. My goodness. One more that I really liked. Mozart said, when I am traveling in a carriage or walking after a good meal or during the night when I cannot sleep, it is on such occasions that ideas flow best and most abundantly.
Yeah.
It's like, I like that, like find like some solitude to like quiet the outer world so that you can kind of, it's like meditating a little bit so you can have your creativity be a little more like clear.
Yeah.
Crystal or...
Yeah. For sure.
Mm-hmm. What do you got?
What do I got? Rudolf Steiner. In music, you can experience your native place. He's saying that the closest art form, the closest experience a person can have in normal consciousness to the spiritual world is listening to music.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Because the spiritual world, to him, he was like clairvoyant, was basically an ocean of sound and vibration.
I mean, it is.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, there's recordings of planets.
Yeah, those are cool.
Right? Like the Earth makes its own vibration. I heard the tone of the Earth is changing.
Yeah.
Do you hear about this?
Well, I've heard a recording from the 60s and another from the 90s that sounded different.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, apparently. And maybe this also is connected to that eighth sphere thing we were talking about.
Yeah.
I always keep confusing it and saying the ninth sphere for some reason, which is...
It's one more than 8.
Yeah. I went to school. And I think it might have been in some of my research with the eighth sphere. Not to go back to that, but it's connected to that quote. Is that the overall like vibration tone that can be recorded of the Earth is slowly changing, and just like we've talked about, like what's it 349 or the hertz?
Like a lot of people's favorite tuning reference pitch.
Yeah,
A at 432 hertz.
Yeah, 432, but they changed it or whatever. the same way that now the Earth's vibration tone is changing, it's affecting everyone
Yeah.
and like our like day-to-day perception, almost like the tides or like the moon gravity, like when it's a full moon or like whatever.
Yeah.
It's like the same thing.
Yeah. I'd like to know, do you know, like, it's just which probe was recording the sound that they said was changing?
No, not
Oh, okay. Because there are a few sonic probes that record.
really. Isn't there like some websites you can go to where it's just always going and you could just listen to it?
Yeah, I think probably the NASA observatory will have like a 24/7 feed of that, of their probes. I can't remember where I listened. I mean, I listened to that stuff
There's a
long time ago.
earthtonesrecording.com.
Oh, okay. Because there are different
That's fucking crazy.
there are different ranges that different probes record in. Like there's a probe that can record the Schumann resonance. There are probes that record like the general ambient noise of nature from a certain height in the
That's
atmosphere.
super cool.
Yeah, there's like different ways
What's
of
the
recording
Schumann
different
resonance?
sounds.
That's what I'm talking about, right? Like the vibration of the Earth has a tone.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah, I mean, if that's changing, that's really interesting because that is the magnetic resonance of the ionosphere between the surface of the Earth and the ionosphere.
That's what I heard.
Yeah,
is that it's changing.
Normally 7.83 hertz, so
Okay.
relatively just below the range of hearing.
I think they said it's going up.
Yeah,
If I
interesting.
remember correctly. I could be totally wrong.
Huh. I'll have to look into that.
Yeah.
That would be very, very interesting. The Schumann resonance was changing.
That's what I heard.
I wonder why. I don't know. Yeah, raising the vibration of the all the New Agers are probably freaking out about this is the ascension, you guys. We're raising our vibration collectively.
Yeah.
That'd be nice. I hope that's true.
Right? Or at least a good thing.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Who knows?
The other one that I really like, it's another Jim Black one, is well, I have like it's like a longer quote, it's like a video. I could look it up and play it, but one of the clippets of it is he said that I want to listen, and this is coming from like, do you have more?
I got one more, but
cool.
I can remember it. It's easy to remember.
Okay.
I just committed it.
Cool. To what?
To memory. I committed it to the insane asylum.
Yeah. Which is up here.
We're up in here.
He's like, I want to, he's a very prolific jazz and avant-garde drummer. But he, so it's like, it's so nice to hear this from him because a lot of like jazz musicians get kind of like, it's like a snobby, But he's like, I want to listen to music like as a novice listener. You know, it's like one day I might listen to something, and he's like, like I'm gonna ad lib. It's like well, I'll just say pop music, and he goes, it's not for me, but that's just the day. Maybe I'll come back in 3 days, and I'm obsessed with it, and it's great. He's like, I want to listen to music like the first time you ever heard music.
Yeah.
So I don't have any egotistic like judgment. Now I'm saying my perception of his quote. So that and I don't know. I think there's something so beautiful about that because like that's the reason we got into music in the first place.
Right, because we heard it once.
Yeah, and it could be anything, but you hear something and your eyes light up. It's kind of like the first time a kid tries ice cream or something, and you're like, wow. 30 years go by and you're an ice cream aficionado and you're like, oh, I only like this specific brand with this type of topping. But it's like, but I still love vanilla ice cream. Just plain ass, out the box vanilla ice cream. By itself, nothing on it.
Yeah. Vanilla gets a bad rap.
What does?
Vanilla. Everybody hates vanilla because it's apparently boring.
Oh, I thought it was because of...
oh, God, I'm about to sneeze.
Go like this. Go like this.
Yeah.
Do you know that thing? Like if you pinch here and then push up.
I think I'm okay now.
That'll make... Or no, is
I'm
it
just
this
gonna
one?
Cry. I don't know.
This one. No, this.
This?
That works.
That's from like fucking cartoons from the 40s.
I think it works though.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll try it next time.
Yeah. Like you put it here and you push up or something.
That idea of trying to listen to music, like that's something that non-musicians probably have a hard time understanding because we've been playing music since we were like 5 years old or whatever. And to like try and listen to music as though you're not a musician, or listen to music as though you know nothing about music, like with a blank slate mind, is like almost impossible if you've been playing music your whole life. Like, you know, it's
Oh, well, yeah, that's the thing, right? Because
Yeah.
we have like spent countless hours programming our ears to analyze.
yeah.
So to make sure that you can find a way to still just innocently enjoy listening to something, especially if it's something brand new,
Yeah.
you know? I mean, we talked about like having trouble going to shows because like you're at a show and you're just like math equations in the air, you know? It's
Yeah.
like, fuck, why can't I just like relax and enjoy this? Like, you know, it's almost like reverse engineering all the skills that you've created for yourself,
Yeah.
you know?
Emptying your own cup.
Oh, and that's in this Jim Black quote.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna just play it.
How it sounds. I want to be a novice listener when I play. I want to be a novice listener when I go home and turn on the stereo. If it turns me on, yes. If it doesn't, cool. I'll check it out another day. But I don't want to play like a musician. I don't, whatever that means, all that music school damage and all those years of too many hours in the practice room. I think it's possible to divorce yourself from that and start fresh in a way, but with the wisdom that all those hours added up and produced. Because you can't do that overnight. It takes hours of work. But hopefully in the end, you're doing it for the right reasons.
And I'm like, yes, that's it.
Yeah.
But the other part of that quote that I really love is like there's a way to divorce yourself from being a musician, as a musician, from just being a student. Even though we will always be a student. Like I'm, you know, like here's a good quote. DJ Shadow introducing record. I'm a student of the drum. You know. Oh, and end quote. I mean, I always will be, you know, forever. But it and I guess what he's saying is like it's necessary to spend, you know, I guess you could say it's that 10,000 hours thing or whatever to get your facility and learn your instrument and da da da. But at a certain point, when do you like kind of divorce yourself from mimicking other musicians and go out and just find yourself and be like an innocent listener, an innocent like player, you know? Because if you could be an innocent listener with a record in your room or at a concert with some random band you don't know, then when you're performing it, particularly with improvised music, you can apply that novice listening to the other musicians you're playing with. So there's no judgment, there's no expectation of what anything is supposed to sound like, and then you could properly react and be more symbiotic with the rest of the group. You know?
Yeah. Yeah, that's I mean that's crucial, like because I do a lot of session playing for just random ass bands who need a bass player just for a record or whatever, or for a live gig, and all kinds of genres: country, pop, punk, jazz, reggae, like everything.
Yeah.
And like you can't go in there thinking that this band is going to be a certain way when you're going through all these different styles and all these different genres. You just have to.
Sure.
You're getting paid to fit in at that point. So you have to just be a blank slate, just pull up whatever skills you have and fit in.
And that's a question I've had certain times, like getting hired for studio stuff, which I don't know if it comes across as like rude, but like it's just like an honest question. I mean, like I say I got hired for like someone calls me, hey, I got the single I'm putting out, I need a drummer on it. I like, you know, I've heard your drumming, I like your drumming, like, do you want it? Are you interested? Yes, of course. Right. But then I'll ask, are you hiring me for me?
Right.
Or are you hiring me because you know I can do exactly what you want? And the musician in that situation, I think, needs to know that.
Yeah.
Are you going in to be a chameleon, or are you going in to bring your like personality and ideas and creativity?
Right.
And sometimes maybe it's even just like a spectrum. It's like, well, I like the way you play, but I want it to be kind of like this record, you know, almost like using like a reference track when you're mixing
Yeah.
or something. It's like kind of get that idea to go in and perform on like a couple tunes like in one day, and you only had like 2-3 days to listen to them, and half the time there isn't even any charts.
Yeah.
And you're listening to like bad iPhone demos.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, it's like you gotta like chameleon a little bit, like in all different directions, to make sure that in a hired situation, you're making that artist like happy, you know. And sometimes what makes them happy is you just kind of blend into the background and just
You
set it up.
You gotta have the discussion with them. Like,
Yeah,
why are you
yeah.
hiring me? What exactly do you want?
Yeah, well, because it's also like there's been times where it's like, you know, the hired conversation goes, it's like, oh, I love the way you play drums, like you got all the freedom in the world, I just want you to do you. And then you go in and you're doing you, and they're like, can you like dial it back? And it's like, wait.
Yeah, like I've had that with a country blues band who has heard my music that's like reggae and progressive rock and shit like that, and like I love the way you play. I'm like, okay. They're like, yeah, just do your thing. It's like you come recommended from other musicians who've recorded at this studio and blah blah blah. So just do your thing. I'm like, but I've never been on a country blues record before. Like my thing is going to be really
Different.
weird. It's going to be like, it's going to change the sound of your entire band if I do my thing for this type of music, because I'm going to get experimental, and this is going to wind up like a fucking Les Claypool record.
Well, yeah, that's the slippery slope. And you want to make sure that.
And they didn't want me to do it at all. They're like, just play country blues. I was like, that's what I thought. Pretty much. Yeah, like, I put like a little groove into what would normally be like just like walking lines or something. Or like, you know, that sort of 1960s style, 1970s style country rock.
That's cool.
And I just put more groove into it, but I was basically just playing 1-4-5 chord progressions.
Yeah. Which, I mean, honestly though, sometimes like that's like my favorite shit.
Oh no, I loved it. I had a blast.
Yeah, it's just like
But like when he told me to do what I do, it's like, all right, I'll do what I do, but it's gonna be ridiculous.
Yeah.
And it pretty much was. It sounded really cool if you're going for like some weird progressive Les Claypool country shit.
Yeah, it could be cool, but now like as the artist, like it's like, wait, do I need to like reorganize everything I just did?
Right. And now
to make that work.
Now when we go
like,
on
no,
tour,
you're here to make that work.
Yeah. Now when they go on tour and they hire a different bass player, there's no way he's gonna play what I played. Not a chance. He's gonna go back to just
unless they
blues
hire
rock.
someone and they're like, do what he did.
Right.
You know, which that's also an option too sometimes.
Yeah,
You
but
know, I mean, it's never going to be exactly the same type of thing.
Every bass player is really different.
Oh,
It's
100%. I mean, take 30 drummers and tell them to just play boom, bot, boom.
Yeah,
bot.
or like
It's gonna
do
be
what he
different.
did, and it's like it's not gonna be what he did, even though he really tried.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
Like the groove is just gonna not be the same.
That's what's like interesting. I mean, like in the recording world, like, and then seeing like a live band playing the stuff that you wrote and tracked. That's a strange feeling, and it used to make me feel uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. But now I look at it like it's really cool because I had a very close friend go see a band that had one of the tracks on their record. I like wrote the drum part. Mm-hmm. Like they had a song, called me in, and they were like, "We don't know what to do with this." And I just did like 4 or 5 takes. Like, what about this? What about that? What about this? What about that? Until they were like, "Oh, that one's like pretty tight." I like, okay, cool. Let's lay it down. And then my friend went to go. It was at a show. I don't know if he was in the performing as well, something. And the band played, and they played that song that like I wrote the drum stuff to, and they texted me and they're like, "I haven't seen you play in so long, but this is kind of like bizarre but cool because I feel like I'm getting to watch you play drums, because I could tell all the parts and the way it's like written. Mm-hmm. It's like it's your shit." Mm-hmm. I was like, wow, like that's a huge compliment, you know? Mm-hmm. It's like, cool. Because that's what we want too, as well as musicians, is to find like our fingerprint a little bit.
Yeah.
Right. And is that fingerprint something that we design, or is it something that we are able to channel through deep like meditation through the abilities we created for ourselves by sitting in the practice room and playing paradiddles for 4 hours, you know?
Yeah, I never thought about developing my own style. I never put any
But
thought
you have
into
a
it.
style. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's
you don't
what I
think
mean.
about that shit?
Yeah, I
think
never
about that
thought
shit.
about it. And like now over the last 22 years of playing, and I listen back to all the records, it's like I do have a fingerprint. I do have a style. I can pick my bass playing out compared to anyone else's. Like I can tell what my style is, what my groove is, where I land on certain things, and how I pluck the strings. It is a unique style, but I never put any thought into it.
Yeah.
It just, after just years and years of playing, it just developed on its own, and I didn't care to think like I'm gonna play it like this. I never thought about
it's like
any
the
of that.
Wizard of Oz. It's like you had a heart all along. You just didn't know it.
Yeah,
Or
because
the lion. No, the Scarecrow is like you had a brain. You just don't have a diploma.
yeah, like when I was learning like dub reggae, for instance, I didn't know how those guys played. I'd never seen them play live until I was like 15, 16 years old or whatever. But I was learning dub reggae when I was like 10 or 12, and so I was just trying to, I'd plug my bass into my amp. I'd listen to like a Scientist record, and just figure out how can I get that tone just with like my hands, because I didn't know anything about equalizing or tone knobs or anything like that.
Oh, cool.
It was all just like, I want to match the tone of this bass player,
Analog.
and all I have is like my hands and my palms, and how do I get that tone? And so I learned, it developed my own ways of mimicking those like muted dubby, like palm muted tones, and just placing my palm on the strings and plucking in different ways, using the fat of my thumb instead of the top of it, using my knuckle instead of my fingertip, just shit that I was inventing just to copy the tone I was hearing.
Yeah,
Because I didn't know how to make that tone. So I had to figure it out on my own. And just years of doing that, like I developed all kinds of weird playing techniques.
That's cool.
That people think are so bizarre when they see me play live. They're like, "What the fuck are you doing? Like, who even taught you how to do that?" It's like nobody taught me how to do this.
Like I was studying with the hand contortionist. For a couple of years.
Yeah, I ran away with the circus.
Well, I mean, because that's yeah. I mean, as musicians, we kind of are part of the modern day circus.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I mean, I think that's a huge part of studying and learning and finding character, right? It's like mimicking artists that you enjoy and learning about them and what's their personality. What's
I would actually never learn about the artists. I never gave a shit.
I mean, yeah, I would a little bit. Yeah, I would. I'd look into it's like what kind of clothes do they wear? Like,
I don't think I know
what
anything.
drumsticks do they use? What drums do they use? What size drums do they use? What type of heads do they use? What cymbal company do they use? Do they have any signature shit? Why is it their signature shit? Like, what are they messing with it? Yeah, I get like super anal retentive about it, and just learn everything about them, and then try to like purposely like mimic it and then play that way. And it's like, cool, that's a toolbox. I get bored, find another artist I loved, and then do the same thing again. So it's almost like method acting or whatever. And then I got to this point where what Jim Black is like kind of talking about in that quote, where I'm just like, I'm sick of like living outside of my own body. Like, who the hell am I as a musician? So I think I planned to do it for 3 months. I think it only lasted like a month and a half, but I didn't listen to any music. I completely stopped listening to music.
Oh yeah, I think the longest I've gone was almost 3 years without listening to any music at all. Yeah, when I was in my late 20s.
It's like a month and a half, 2 months, and I didn't listen like to any music anywhere. Even if I like went into a store and music was playing, I put my ear pods in and put a podcast or like literal like earplugs
to stop you from hearing it.
Because the idea was, okay, what is inside of me without any external influence? Can I still create music without any inspiration musically?
Right.
And what was cool about it is then what I ended up just like subconsciously finding myself doing was looking for musical inspiration in things that weren't music.
Yeah.
Like paintings, specific artists, it's like I would like sit at my kit and like pull up like on my computer like a Jackson Pollock painting and just like stare at it for like 10, 15 minutes until I started to like feel how it made me feel, and then be like, can I transfer that feeling onto the kit? You know, I started doing things like that. I was still thirsty for inspiration,
Yeah.
which is interesting. Which therein lies, I guess, the idea that like all art is like feeding itself through inspiration and then coming out of every individual differently, because we all perceive things differently. You know, it's like when you have an argument with a friend and they're like, that's blue, and you're like, that's freaking purple, dude. And they're like, no, it's blue. Like, it's purple to me. I don't see purple. I don't see blue at all. You know, it's like we all experience and perceive things differently. So then when we recreate or have it come back out of as an influence, it has different like what's the word I'm thinking of? Different like
Dead air.
yeah, not algorithms, but like what's that? What, you know what I'm trying to say?
Like a different signature?
Yeah, well, definitely a different signature for sure. Yeah, but different variables that come into play with your perception.
Sure.
You know, and then now it's like, okay, yeah, cool. It's like you sound like John Bonham, but on this tune, but like you're just doing a Bonham thing. Which now that's a trope. You could say, oh, it's like you're trying to do Bonham. But if you're listening to music as a novice listener, you could hear Bonham in there, but also hear that person in there and their perception of how he would groove. And that's a cool thing. There's nothing wrong with that per se. You know?
Yeah.
Unless you're straight up like copying. But
That's what most music is.
I mean, a good amount. Yeah.
I mean, probably every chord progression, every melody, and every rhythm has been played before, I'm sure.
Maybe.
Yeah.
No, there's more stuff out there. I'm more of a glass half full with that idea.
Well, the thing is like, I don't care about being original. Like, it doesn't bother me. Like, I don't care if there's anything new. You know what I mean?
No, but yeah, I'm not like trying to like push like being original thought. It's more coming from a place of just like adventure.
Yeah, but mathematically, like with a 12-tone music scale, you can make there's like 1.69 billion combinations of rhythm and note for melody. I'm sure they've all been played. That's not that many. You know what I mean?
I suppose. I don't know.
Yeah. I just, it's but like when I was in my late 20s and I basically turned off music from like I was probably maybe 26 to 29.
It was a total conscious decision.
Yeah. I decided like I'm
Wow,
not
you
going to
did the
listen to
same
music
thing?
at all. Yeah.
Man, you put more numbers up than I did, man. Shit.
Well, it's easier when you've been meditating for like 18 years at that point. You could just.
Is this when you went to India?
Oh no, this was years later. But it's because I was getting into soundtracking.
Yeah.
So what I did near the end of that time period was I would pick a project that I wanted to practice soundtracking for. And for me, it was like science fiction video games. So I would just take a bunch of concept artwork that the concept artist develops for the video game. And it's just basically just like paintings and drawings and illustrations and stuff like that. And I would print them all out and I would just put them all around my studio. And like behind my speakers on the wall, on all the walls, put them on like music stands with just images of like stuff that's in the video game and concept art for the game. And then I would divide the pictures by the different types of gameplay there are. So there's like combat, and then there's like exploration, and then there's like dialogue and talking to characters. And then over here I'd have like like when you go to an in-game store to shop for a new like gun or whatever, and like all the different scenes that a player would be in. And then I would just get absorbed in these images and just start playing music, whether it was my guitar or my synthesizers or whatever, or just samplers or whatever. I would just wait for something to come. And this was like after 3 years of not listening to anything, and just let the images get into me and be like, okay, what is this person feeling in this scene? It's like neon signs and a dude with like robot eyeballs walking on the street, and this, an android over there. And it's like, what would the player be feeling? Like, what would this character be feeling and thinking, and what, just what would naturally come out? And I wrote music that I had never really heard anything like it before. I never really heard like sci-fi soundtracks that sounded quite like that. And I never expected I'd write music like that. It was like something totally new.
But I thought everything's already been done.
Yeah. But I didn't do it yet, is my point.
Yeah.
Like, it's nothing that I thought I would do, is what I said. Not that anybody would do.
I'm just fucking with you.
Yeah. And so, like, I'd done that my whole life. Like, I would play in a band for a while.
I love that.
And then I would quit playing bass for like a year.
I
And then
remember
I'd play
this.
again for a year, and then I'd quit for a year.
Yeah, and I wouldn't understand, like, how you could do that.
Yeah, I mean, because playing music gets boring to me. I have to take breaks from it because it's like, it just becomes a job, and then I hate it. You know,
I get that.
I don't like when things become work.
Yeah, it's weird, man. I mean,
but when I come back to it, I play differently than I used to.
Right?
Like
Isn't that
after
strange?
such a long break.
Do you find that you lose anything? Like there's like a gestation period of like kind of getting your shit back.
It only takes a couple hours to get it back.
Yeah. Like for me, it's like 2 or 3 practice sessions.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not that I have ever gone that long without playing drums. Like I think the longest I've ever gone since I was 4 years old without playing drums was like a month.
Yeah.
And it's because I broke my collarbone, and then I just
kind of had to.
and then I just like I gave up and I started just playing with one hand.
Yeah,
Because I was like, I can't not play drums.
like the guy from Def Leppard.
Yeah.
Hey, it works. He made
You know,
it work.
he burns incense.
Yeah,
Is he still alive?
I don't know.
Yeah, he does a thing on stage. He burns incense on both sides of his kit.
while he's playing.
Yeah,
Oh,
so
that's funny.
because his idea is that, like, you know, I'm in a different venue all the time. I'm always traveling. Like I need some type
that's
of
the
like
same.
home.
Yeah.
You know, so he's like, my kit's my home, so I burn incense. So when I get to my kit, it's a familiar
That's a good
smell,
idea.
and then it kind of helps me get into like my place and get comfortable.
I'm gonna start doing that.
Isn't that cool?
That's
I
a
thought
really
that's
good
such
idea.
a great idea.
Yeah.
Because Miles had the same concept, but in his brain.
He burned incense in the bell of his trumpet. Is that what you're saying?
I think it was a big bag of heroin.
Heroin.
No.
Maybe once or twice.
Yeah, but I wonder if that's a funny Google. Did Miles ever smoke his heroin out of his trumpet?
His trumpet. It's like, in fact, he did.
He probably.
1962 Louisiana.
He has like the custom Miles Davis trumpet has like
Yeah.
a little like smoke pipe thing on the top of the bell. No, that's so fucked up. He has this. It was in his biography. That's the one you write, right? Autobiography is.
Autobiography is when you write it yourself.
Okay, autobiography.
Okay, yeah.
Awesome book.
Yeah.
Thick boy. It's like 1,000 something pages. It's a big old book.
Wow.
But really, really awesome. I mean, I love those type of books because, especially if you've watched interviews or know stuff, it's like almost like you could hear in your mind them reading it to you.
Right.
It's almost like you're sitting in a room with them, listening to them talk because you could hear their voice.
Yeah.
When their prose is in like the literature, you know, like Anthony Bourdain's book or like all of his books. You read that shit and like I hear him talking because
Yeah.
I watched so many of his shows.
Right.
You know, but anyway, in Miles, there's this one chapter and he talks about like, well, you know, starting off, there is no such thing as a wrong note. You know, there's only
Especially in jazz.
well, it's all music, baby. But I mean, fine. But he talks about, he's like, if you listen to most of my solos, I rarely start on the downbeat.
Yeah.
The second, like the last solo ended, or the chorus ended, and then it's trumpet solo. I rarely start on the downbeat because I close my eyes and take a deep breath. And in my mind, I would picture this place that I meditated on. I believe he said it was a plateau and just like above like a huge open like field of like nature. And he was like, it was his kingdom. Like he was the king of this land. And he's like, I would close my eyes and picture myself where I would meditate what I pictured in my mind of that. And it would transport me out of the fact that I was in a room playing music for people. then I'd take a deep breath, and then I'd come like back and start soloing.
Neat.
You know?
Yeah.
And it's kind of the same idea with like the incense and that type of thing. You know, I mean, it is such like a sacred thing to get to perform music for anyone, you know. Jim Black said when I was in school, like I took some lessons with him and I went to go see him play, and I think it was I forget, it was somewhere in Brooklyn. I forget. Oh, Shape Shifter or something like that. Cool venue. And he's walking around, and like I said hi to him, like we're talking and all this shit. And I was like, because I was studying, so I was like just like young, dumb, and full of questions. And I was like, are you not gonna warm up, or like did you warm up already? Did you play? He's like, actually I didn't touch the drums once today. I was doing this, that, or the other. And I was like, oh shit. So like you don't warm up? He's like, I hate touching my drumsticks before I play. He's like, I'll maybe do some stretches or something just to make sure like I'm awake, but I'd like to get to my kit, pick my sticks up, and then boom, I start playing. I hope my memory's correct on that, but it was something of the like. And I was like, whoa, that's crazy, dude. Because like at that time, I'm like, if you're gonna like play a show, like you gotta play some pad and get your hands moving, like, you know, whatever. And I've tried different things. I think for me, it depends on like the type of music. Like if it's like something that's like a real brill, like intense thing, I gotta do something to get my hands moving. But I kind of took that as the same thing as the Miles thing, you know, or it's like, you know, we all create our own little specific rituals before we perform to help do this thing, which I think this is the Jim quote too, but it's like the switch, you know, or I forget what musician said that. But I can't remember who it is. I'm sorry, but it was something about like when you're off the bandstand, you're just a regular ass person hanging out with your friends or people you never met and just whatever. But the second you walk on that stage, you're the baddest motherfucker in the room. And then so it's like you're building that confidence. You sit down, you play, you do your thing, you finish your show, you walk off the stage, and you're just a regular ass person again. You know, it's like almost like a confidence boost kind of perception, but I think it's not really about like being like the baddest in the room. I think it's more or less about like forcing yourself to take what you're doing seriously so that you can do it. But when you're not doing it, you can't take yourself seriously. Otherwise you could be an asshole. You know, I don't know. Do you have any like specific things when you play, or you're just kind of just
Yeah, I don't know.
You don't think about that shit?
I never really think about it. Like
it's like a ritual to me to play a show, you know?
Yeah. I got into a place in my teens, my late teens, when everything I did became a ritual. So I'd never leave the ritual space, you know? So it wasn't like flipping a switch. I flipped the switch when I was 17 and never unflipped it, kind of a thing.
I mean, I understand that. It's just, it's for a specific ritual though, you know?
Well, that's where I would disagree, because, like, I agree in your assessment, your idea that playing music for people is an extremely sacred and important act.
Yes. Yeah.
So I try to just have that sacred interaction with everything that I do.
Of course. I mean,
and so there's no preparing for it anymore. That's all I mean.
Interesting.
It's just like I don't think about the transition between playing and not playing.
I guess I like tradition a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know if it's necessarily necessary, but like there's something I like about it. And I've seen so many other musicians do it, and it's like, that's cool. It's like, the like Man Dancing before shows, we would always meet up backstage before we went on, and we'd get in a circle, say a prayer, and put our foreheads together, and then just like breathe for a little bit.
Yeah.
And then we felt like we cleansed ourselves of all the craziness that just went on. Talking to people, loading in, setting up gear, sound checking, like comping tickets, talking to our friends that we haven't seen in 2 years. And they're like, oh, how you doing? All this intense energy, and we would just...
Yeah. I do things like that with bands. Depends on the band.
All right, let's go fucking play some music, guys.
Yeah.
You know, and like that, those type of little things, like I love those, and I love to hear other people's versions of it, because you could do the same thing with anything in your life, but with music, it's, I don't know. I mean, I guess it's not necessary for everyone, but I've found benefits to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think for me, it would be like I lock eyes with all the band members one at a time for like 15 seconds before playing. Like the drummer's setting up,
that's
I'll
a
just
good one.
stare at him until like he locks eyes, and then he realizes like, oh, this is the thing we're doing. And then we'll
it's like,
stare
oh,
at each
what's
other.
up?
And then after I'm 10, 15 seconds with him, then I'll look at the guitarist until we lock eyes for like 15 seconds. And then like it just creates a coherence.
See, you do have one.
Yeah, I do have that. Yeah. Yep.
Those
It
things.
creates like a coherence amongst the band members.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting at. I love that shit. There's something so cool about it. But you could, like, for me, I've had some of those. I don't know if I have a particular one in mind that I do for myself, though. Like the examples I gave.
Like if I was by myself, I don't think I would do anything.
Honestly, if you know, I do have one. Now that I think about it,
Yeah.
I try to distract myself from the fact that I'm about to play a show as much as I possibly can by socializing.
Yeah. Okay.
And talking to people and catching up and just bouncing around and just, you know, like, hey, how you doing? You know, conversation until like it gets like too intense, and I'll be like, oh shit, I gotta go say hi to them. Like, I'm so glad to see you. Like, distract myself until it's like, oh shit, we gotta go up. And then I'm like, oh shit, I get to play drums now? I already just had fun.
Right.
Now I get to play drums. So then, you know, it's like it keeps like an innocence in my like perception where I'm not there like, okay, so I gotta play drums today. I have to do a good show. Did I remember how to play this thing? I don't know. Because if I'm thinking that,
Right.
now I'm going to be thinking that on the stage, and then I'm going to miss a bunch of shit because I'm not focused on just enjoying myself and listening.
Yeah.
So I distract myself. I guess that's my ritual.
Yeah. That's
Until,
kind of that's
to the last very minute.
yeah. That's kind of what I meant when like I said there's no transition, or try not to have a transition between normal life and performance.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
I try not to think about it because I don't want to like make it a different state of mind, because when I practice alone, when I'm just like in my practice space by myself, and I'm like, okay, today I'm gonna pick up my acoustic guitar and do some singing and chord progressions and just practice a few songs, I don't think about anything. I'm just like, I'm just gonna warm up, I'm just gonna practice, I'm just gonna have some fun, and then I'm gonna stop. So when I perform in front of people, I'm just going to practice, and I just don't think about it. It's like I just think about it the same way, like I'm just in a practice room, there just happens to be a bunch of people in here with me now.
Yeah. Well, I would say that that's your ritual.
Yeah, but it's like I'm not doing anything because I'm like always in that state of mind.
Yeah.
You know? So it's like
But
I don't
it's
take the time to get in that state
yeah.
of mind. It's just always being in that state of mind.
That's still ritual.
Ritual is a technical process to change your state of mind.
It's just long form ritual.
Yeah, I began the ritual when I was 17. I did the ritual when I was 17 and just never had to do it again.
No, you're continuously doing it.
Continuously doing it.
Mm-hmm. That's what I would say. That's what it sounds like to me, you know?
Yeah.
You don't think so?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like your stasis.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, it's the infinite ritual.
I like a little bit of a roller coaster ride.
Yeah.
Just like, you know,
It depends
to each
on who you're with, too. Like the band you're playing with. Because there are some bands that, like, don't give a shit. You know, they're just going to get up there and play, and they don't care about making that coherence with the band or anything like that. They're just, like, getting up and doing it. It's, like, just this mechanical job that they do, and they don't do any ritual or connection or anything. It's like, okay, it's time to go up, and then they just go up, and we just start playing. But then other bands are like, you know, everybody wants to put their hands in the middle and say something, and you know, every band is gonna be different. You know how you get started playing, and a lot of people don't seem to do anything. Most people that I've played with, they seem to just like take a drink and just not really do anything. Like their ritual is to just like take a shot of liquor, and then like shout something, like not a word, just like a grunt or something, and then start playing. Yeah, pretty much something
Really?
like that. Yeah, and
Like
that's
on
like
stage?
no, like at the bar right before going on or backstage.
That's cheap. That's like going out
Yeah.
with the boys.
Yeah, and that's like the vast majority of bands do that.
Really?
Yeah, like almost 90% of the bands I've played with just do that. They just take a drink, shout, and then go out and play. And they don't look at each other. They just all kind of walk out on stage, pick their shit up, and then the drummer counts everybody in and just goes.
Braveheart.
Yeah. And that has been like the majority of my session playing with random bands. It's just that.
Interesting. Session playing?
Yeah, like when a band is like in town and they just need a bass player for a gig.
I was thinking
Yeah.
like studio.
No,
You're in the studio. Let's record.
they do that too. They do that too in the studio. Absolutely. Yeah, it's in the studio too.
That's fucking hilarious.
Yeah, and it just moves so quick. You just go out and do it. And it's like, oh, I guess that's what these guys do. And it's most bands are like that.
I did have I guess a blues.
Traveler.
Yeah, I guess it was Blues Traveler cover band. No, it was like a blues band.
That'd be fun.
And we'd always like, yeah, it's like a lot of shots and always a lot of barbecue.
Barbecue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like eat so much food that you like seriously need to take a nap.
Right before playing.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. I don't
Racks
know.
of ribs,
Yeah.
mashed potatoes,
I like to eat just a little bit before
macaroni
playing.
and cheese, like all the shit.
Oh no.
And
That'd be too much
then
for
like
me.
the most ridiculous like thick hazy IPA.
Yeah.
And you're just like it's like, all right, let's go play some blues.
Use your stomach as the kick drum.
Yeah, and it was like 3 45-minute sets. So by the last set, you're just like,
Oh God.
someone kill me.
Yeah, it doesn't sound good.
I'm having fun, I swear to God.
I don't know if I'm having fun or a stroke.
Yeah. Oh, man. That's fun, though. I had fun with that.
Oh yeah, of course.
Free barbecue.
I do like drinking during playing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I usually have a drink on my amp.
I used to totally do that.
Yeah.
I mean, Zach Hill usually has a gallon of water.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll have like a half gallon of water, not a whole gallon.
No, he
That's
just gets like
insane.
the jug, gallon
like
of
the
water.
milk jug of water. Yeah.
And then he just like has a pool of sweat under him.
Yeah, that's gross.
But he does do an hour of like.
Yeah. It's like going to the gym.
Yeah. He's a bad dude.
Yeah.
Did I say that like that drum fill story where the guy didn't play any stories or fills? Did I already tell you that?
I don't know. Maybe. I don't remember.
I don't want to repeat myself.
So he played drum fills without playing drum fills?
Well, he only grooved and he never played any fills.
Yeah. I know drummers who are like that. It's just
But it was like an audition. So he goes in for this audition, right? He practiced all the shit. And I don't know, I didn't tell you this.
I don't think so.
And he planned all these like really cool drum fills. He goes in and all the drummers before him in the audition, he could hear them. They're like all sounding great. Mm-hmm. Starts getting in his head. He's like, I don't know if they're going to hire me, but I really want this gig. Goes in, starts grooving. First drum fill's coming up. He's like, all right, I'm going to really show him what for. And then, shit, I missed the fill. Just keeps grooving. Right? He's like, well, I'm going to catch the next one. Really, really, like, blow their mind with this fill I've been practicing, like, all month. Misses the fill. Just keeps grooving. Next thing you know, the song ends. He didn't play one drum fill. And he's like, son of a... I worked so hard on this. Damn it. And they're like, you're hired. That was awesome, dude.
Yeah. Nice.
You weren't fucking around the whole time.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, I probably would have hired him too.
Yeah, exactly.
Because that's always been a problem with auditioning bandmates is...
Have you done... I've never
done an audition.
I've auditioned myself, but I've never auditioned.
I've auditioned people. I've never done an audition.
What's that like? Do you feel like Hytel?
No, not really. I don't really. I mean, you're obviously a dictator. You're deciding whether or not you're going to work with someone, and it's up to you.
Yeah.
But it is like a lot of people just fucking around and showing off, and it's like you're not going to play like that when we play in this band. Like you're not just going to keep soloing, and you're not going to keep doing fills. You're not going to keep showing off. You're not going to slap the bass all that much. Like you're not going to fucking play like this.
Kind of like it's like if you can't keep your cool because it's an audition.
Yeah. It's like,
and you start doing all this whack shit because
yeah,
you're freaking out that it's an audition. Like, how are you going to handle shows?
Yeah. So what I would look for is someone
the
who.
Idea? I don't know. Sorry.
Yeah, it's like I look for someone who can keep time and just has a solid sense of tempo and rhythm. And those are the most important things. Because, like, you can play wrong notes, but as long as they're in time, no one's going to notice that much.
And if you play a wrong note, sometimes, like, play it again a few times.
Yeah, and then people will think it's a correct note. Yeah. It's like, oh, he meant to do that.
I think that's a Miles thing.
Yeah. That's a really good trick. It works, like, every fucking time.
Especially with drums, too. If you're like, God, oh, drum is stick. God.
And then just leave it open again. Yeah.
God. Now it's like, oh, that's cool. Leaving a little space, huh? It's like, no, I just dropped my drumstick.
Right.
And now I'm covering for myself. Yeah.
And that's kind of something that I would look for is like if they can cover a mistake well.
Yeah.
If they're just like they're not showing off. Like, you know, if like the audition is for a rhythm guitarist, I don't need someone to play tech metal for me. You know what I mean? I need someone to hold a groove for 3.5 minutes. That's what I need to look for.
Yeah.
And if you can do that in any genre, whether it's blues or tech metal or reggae or whatever, then I'm probably going to hire you more than the guy who's like showing off, but like sometimes his groove slips out of the pocket. It's like, yeah, he's technically really good, but like there are a few times where like that groove was like 15 milliseconds off, you know, like I'm not going to work with that. Like he's technically extremely talented, but he slips out of the fucking pocket.
Yeah, well, because here's the thing. Like, if you can't play a solid groove for 3.5 minutes, what's going to happen to your groove when you start playing fills?
Yeah, it's going to be just out there. It's going to be like stepping on a ketchup packet.
I used to drive my roommates crazy.
Because you'd play like the simplest thing forever.
I would just play.
Yeah.
Yeah. For like 2 hours.
Yeah, absolutely. I would play a single note on bass, but just one particular rhythm.
And my one roommate was like, yeah. My one roommate one day, I was like, he's like, are you gonna like play like anything different, dude? Because like I know you could play all this wild shit, and I really like when you play all that wild shit. Like what the fuck? Like, I have to literally listen to this shit all fucking night. And I'm like, dude, I'm practicing. He's like, practicing?
Yeah,
that's easy for you. You could play all this other shit. I'm like, dude, if I can't perfectly perfect that,
then you can't play.
I'm not internalizing this so that I can
exactly.
And make that feel good.
Yeah.
You know, like the physical stuff, there's other like that or like doing like just like almost like you're on a drum pad but on the kit. There's different things you could do to get your physical side, but like to internalize your shit, like sit down on the kit and just play the regular ass beat for 2-3 hours.
Yeah.
Exactly. With a metronome, or make a playlist of songs that are just so at least you have like some chord changes. It keeps you a little more like, or me at least a little. It keeps me like more kind of like mentally stimulated, like, you know, and you know, yeah, I don't know. It's like I love to do that, and like it sounds like I'm not doing anything, but I'm truly practicing when I do that.
It's a type of entrainment.
Entrainment.
Yeah, you're like programming your nervous system to stay in time to be able to recognize a tempo.
I'm also by doing that and getting it to be very consistent, massaging my central nervous system with vibration.
Yeah, exactly.
So you walk away feeling real good from that shit.
Yeah, that's why like I can only listen to sort of like progressive stuff or techie stuff. Only for a little bit, like stuff that's constantly changing.
Yeah,
like
I agree.
Wolfpack or whatever. Like those types of bands are great and they're really fun to listen to, but it's extremely exhausting after like 15 minutes. I've had it.
Yeah.
And then I just need to listen to like a fucking dub reggae groove that doesn't change for 10 and a half minutes and just be with that for a while. Cause, when things are just changing and super chaotic and technical, I like just a little bit of that. That like spices things up, that like adds energy to the nervous system, adds some stimulus and stuff. Usually when things change a lot, there's a lot of higher frequency stuff going on. That's just kind of like, if you want to do technical things, it's better to do it in the mid-range and higher range so that people can hear it better. And higher range stuff, like things that are 500 hertz-ish or 1,000 hertz-ish and over, will actually add electrical energy to your nervous system. And then things that are like 1,000 hertz and below, or more like 500 hertz and below, actually take electrical energy away from the nervous system and discharge it. So it's like breathing, how you inhale and exhale. You have to charge your nervous system with high frequency stuff and discharge it with low frequency stuff. And you create
Like
this
the
up and
brown
down.
note?
Kind of. I mean,
Is that why it's called the brown note?
Maybe it is a low frequency note.
I'm being silly.
Well, there is the brown note. It stimulates your intestinal tract.
Is it actually real? I didn't think it was real.
Yeah, the American military developed it back in the 1940s. It makes people, it gives you cramps in your abdomen, and some people shit themselves. Yeah, I'm not even kidding. It's a crowd control weapon.
I thought it was not real. I thought it was just a South Park thing.
No, it's real. It's absolutely real. Yeah, it's pretty funny, right? It's just below the audible hearing range. It's like 9 hertz or 9.9 hertz or something like that. I can't remember exactly
Jackass
what it is.
6.4.
Hitting
we
people.
call this the brown note. And they all shit their pants.
It's actually kind of rare that people shit their pants. It's like 1 out of every 20 people will shit their pants. Most people just get insane cramps and they double over in pain.
Poopies would probably do it first.
Who? Poopies?
Yeah.
Who's that?
He's like a new member of the Jackass crew.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that'd be appropriate for him.
That's crazy. I totally derailed you.
Yeah,
I didn't
so-
understand that, like, so higher frequencies is like breathing in, lower frequencies is breathing out.
And so there are a lot of bands.
I mean, I guess...
Yeah, so that was something that I always try to capture with my music is like, especially when you're writing a whole album or like a longer song, you have to think about it like breathing, like high frequency stuff, then low frequency, then high frequency, then low frequency. And that has a very beneficial effect on the physiology.
Like song to song?
Or within a song. It can be song to song or within songs or like a measure of both. And I'm always trying to be cognizant of that because there are bands that are all high frequency stuff. Like you listen to classical music, for instance. That's almost all just high frequency. And that's because people who listen to classical music, at least in the 19th and 20th centuries, were in the leisure class. They were rich people who were just sitting around in the sun all day. So their nervous systems were highly discharged because they lived very stress-free, chill lives. So they could deal with a lot of charging up. So they could listen to a lot of high frequency music and just get charged up and charged up and
like
charged
chakra,
up.
like a crown chakra. No, like head
That's
music.
not high electrical frequency or high noise frequency. I mean, yeah, it is like you could say there's the lower chakras are more infrared, lower frequency, and the higher chakras are higher frequency. But just stimulating it with only high frequencies is unhealthy. You need to have that breathing up and down and in and out.
So then, like, okay, so we have these aristocrats
Yeah, so they're constantly they're fine with listening to all high frequency
listening
music.
to beep boom, beep boom, beep
Yeah.
That's my like trying to do Bach. What was there like? I guess the music at the time for I guess you're alluding to the peasants
who had more stressful lives.
Yeah, we're listening to
More guitar and lute, like the
lute stuff. Yeah,
bards who would sing in the streets. They would sing with deeper voices. It was very popular for a bard to have a tenor voice.
The minstrels.
Yeah, minstrels would have deeper voice, and they played the bigger guitars and lutes that could play lower notes, and they would just play a rhythm, like a very predictable rhythm, and then they would just recite repetitive poetry, kind of like rap or hip hop. And that's where you get rap and hip hop is, a lot of people who live in the inner city live very stressful lives in poverty, surrounded by gangs and stuff like that. So they're always discharging their nervous systems because they're always charged up. They're always slightly paranoid, slightly afraid. experiencing lives of violence, hustling for money, and all that sort of thing. So they listen to music with these deep, subby bass tones that discharge the nervous system constantly. And that's kind of where you get these different styles of music, is depending on a person's lifestyle, they'll prefer to hear certain frequency ranges, depending on whether they want to charge up or discharge their nervous system. So I always like to be cognizant of that and offer both in a more balanced way, because you don't want to over discharge and you don't want to overcharge. You want to like breathe in and out. You know, you don't just constantly breathe in or constantly breathe out. You do a respiration. So it's always interesting to see all these different styles of music.
That's fascinating.
Yeah.
I've never heard that.
Yeah, there's oh crap, I forgot the name of the book.
Obsessed with that. That's so cool.
Oh, I have it.
Uh-oh. Sorry.
Yeah, I can't remember the name of the book.
It's so freaking fascinating. I mean, how just frequencies or specific styles, or I mean, you could even bring it down to the musician, like how much it affects like the human psyche.
Yeah.
It's really magnificent. I mean, there's this video that's like kind of new, where it was Phil Collins talks about his drumming.
Mm-hmm.
And he talked about all the like he had Chester Thompson, he had Bill Bruford in the beginning of him starting to sing for Genesis, and like all these magnificent drummers. And he wasn't saying it in like an egotistical way, but he was just trying to describe like his own personality on the drum set and like why he played and wrote the way he did on the drums.
Yeah.
And he said this one thing. Yeah, if you could look for it. I know you're still listening.
Yeah, I'm listening.
He said he was trying to describe like how he played and what difference it made, and he said I'm a more like aggressive drummer.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So at face value, you don't necessarily look at that as, you don't think of it as what he meant once I started to study that idea. Like, you think an aggressive drummer is someone who like, it's like, he meant it in like a more like poetic way. Because then I took that, because I've been studying Phil's stuff like my whole life. I love him. He's one of my favorite drummers. I think he's one of the best drummers.
Yeah, he could feel it coming in the air tonight.
Yeah, dude. I mean, like, Phil's up there with like Ringo.
Yeah. Oh, it's called Noise, The Political
okay.
Economy of Music by, oh God, this website's fucked up. Jacques Attali. Yeah, a book called Noise. And it's like a history of, like, the political economy of music, I guess. And he has a chapter on the frequencies, charging and discharging of the nervous system.
That's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
So what I think is, this all ties in, by the way. I'm not just ranting about Phil Collins, because trust me, I can. So I think because I'm a drummer, right? So I can only speak from the drummer world, really, in any type of, if I'm going to speak with any type of expertise. You know, I could talk about music theory, but still consider myself a novice with that. But I lost my train of thought. So the way chord changes work and create different emotions, I believe you could do the same thing with rhythm.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You can create different emotions with rhythm, whether it's like dynamics or the way you play, like in the beat, like where you're laying the beat and all this stuff. And I kept thinking, it's like, he keeps talking about this thing. It's like, I'm an aggressive drummer. Like, what the hell does that mean? And like, I know he uses like much shorter drumsticks. I mean, he's not like a tall guy. So that means his distance of stick to the head is faster.
Yeah.
So he's going to be playing on top of the beat a little bit. Right?
Well, I guess he could compensate and slow down.
Well, he could, but
He doesn't.
It's a decision.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like, okay, there's an aggression. But he didn't mean aggression like aggression. I think he meant aggression by like making decisions faster than you would expect.
Yeah.
So if you took eighth notes on the bass drum, 2 and 4 on the snare, like do do ga do 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 ga do 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 ga do 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 ga do 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 ga do.
Yeah, we get it, Tom.
Most people, if you say put a hi-hat thing in there, they go do do ga do 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 ga sum do ga do 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 ga sum do ga, right? Phil would go sum do ga do 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 ga do giz do ga do 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 ga do giz do ga do 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 ga do giz do ga do do ga do giz do ga. Totally different, as opposed to putting it on the ands afterwards. He put it like on a downbeat at the beginning of the measure. So he meant aggressive, that like I would take classic things but put it before you would expect to hear it. Now you're kind of like your ears are on edge a little bit. You're like gats is like, oh, I'm in it. He'd be like
Yeah.
puts you in a completely different headspace.
Yeah.
It makes you kind of go like, oh, puts you on edge. Now you're on edge. Now I have your attention, and then
Now you can feel it coming in the air tonight.
yeah, and that's like kind of his shtick, And I was like,
Yeah.
oh, that's so cool. It makes so much sense to me now. I feel like, I mean, I've been playing Phil Collins music since I was a child. Once I heard that interview and then kind of applied that idea, it's like I've been playing his stuff again. I was like, oh, I get it now. It makes more sense. Like, I think that stuff is so fascinating, and also Europe, England in particular, their drummers are so different than American drummers. So it's and I think that's kind of like a key to it. It's like a different like kind of like approach, but I think all of those things affect the same way as what's his name?
Jacques Attali.
Jacques Attali. It's the same idea, but just with like drums,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Well, drums have the whole frequency range too, from high to low.
Sure.
And that
Yeah.
affects it. Like if you never played a kick drum and it was all hi-hats and snares, just all mid and high range stuff, that would have a certain effect. Or if you just played like the floor tom and the kick and it's all subs with a little bit of mids, that would totally change the vibe.
Yeah.
But yeah, speed and like whether you're jumping on the beat or playing laid back, also like jumping on the beat is, like you said, it's going to charge you up. It's going to make you pay more attention. It's going to make you use more brain power. If you're laid back and behind the beat, you relax more and you use like less brain power to listen to that song.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's kind of a discharging thing. So yeah, the speed or the groove, as it's called.
Well, which is interesting because like Phil wasn't he's got a great autobiography, I'm Not Dead Yet.
Oh, I think I've heard of that book.
Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah.
He came from like a family of like 8 kids and like hella poor.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he wanted to be on Broadway.
Really?
And he started doing like plays and stuff. Like singing, but he liked drums, and then he found an ad in the paper for a band needing a drummer, and that's how he found Genesis. And everybody in Genesis like lived in like a house with a pool and had hella money, and he showed up like ragtag, like, what the hell is this shit? You rich ass motherfuckers. He was broke, He didn't have anything.
Yeah.
So he always maybe had like a little bit of a chip on his shoulder, but I think he brought like a bit of a scrappy charisma.
Yeah.
I think that's part of everything we're talking about as well too, is like your personality within a band or as a musician brings a lot to your music as well, right?
That was my other quote
Yeah.
at the beginning of the episode that I didn't read yet.
Oh, let's hear it.
Yeah.
Go. Let me hear it. Can I hear it?
The only thing which drives music are the people making it. That's by Ian MacKaye, the guy from Fugazi and Minor Threat.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah. And he was one of my biggest inspirations growing up. I fucking love Ian MacKaye. And that was one of his quotes. I think it was from a book called Our Band Could Be Your Life, which was about the DC punk rock scene in the 80s and 90s.
Wow.
And they some journalists went around like interviewing like Glassjaw and Jawbox and Fugazi and Minor Threat, Black Flag, all the DC area punk rock bands from that era. A lot of bands with Jaw in the name. But yeah, Ian MacKaye was interviewed for it, and he said that quote. And it's like, yeah, the thing that drives music is the people making it, It's like, you can't have music without a person playing it, you know,
Yeah.
except for, I don't know, these computer programs coming out today, but that's a whole other thing.
Yeah, I don't want to go down that rabbit hole. That's
Yeah.
for sure. It's too
But
scary.
a quote, I actually have
Oh,
a
I
quote
love
from
that.
my friend Sal. He sent it to me late last night when I was asleep. So yeah, this is a very recent quote.
Do I know Sal? I know a
I
Sal.
don't think you know Sal. He's a producer friend. Okay, so he kind of gives me disjointed thoughts. But vibrato, singing with emotion, it's the best. Watching Elvis right now. His soul derived from the soul acts he grew up around really taught him to sing with soul. But it's like, yeah, it's music comes from the soul. It's the seat of emotion. It's where emotions come from, your astral body.
Yeah.
And that's where music comes from. It's the most emotional form of artwork because emotion requires duration. It requires time. You have the thing that causes the emotion, the beginning of it, the duration of it, and the end of it, and then the after effect of having experienced the emotion. So it's something that requires time, and the only art form that requires time is music. Everything else is a statue that's just there in a moment, a painting that's just there, a photograph that's just there. But music is the only art form that takes place over time. Well, I guess filmmaking and video games as well, but those are new. And yeah, we can talk about that, but we'll talk about music for now. It's the only music before the 20th century that required time. And I guess you could say theaters and plays and stuff like that require time as well.
It's the music, dude.
Yeah. It's all music.
You don't have theater without music.
Yeah.
I mean, you can,
You
but
can.
it's
then you're just waiting for Godot and it's
just
boring.
a freaking lecture.
Yeah. Then it's just
The best part about theater is the music. Get out of here. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
That's so crazy. What an awesome thought. I never really looked at it like that. I mean, I would still assume, like, looking at a beautiful painting
Oh, we've got 1.5 minutes before the tape runs out.
does require time.
Yeah, speaking of time,
Speaking of time, I love you.
I love you too, Tom. Thanks for tuning in.
Deuces.
I hope you enjoyed it.
Yeah.
See you next time.